Welcome back to Fox 40 News at 11. I'm Sincere Tonsel. Irreparable harm. That's what the U.S. Treasury Secretary says will happen to our economy if America starts defaulting on its financial obligations by not raising or suspending the debt ceiling. That ceiling was officially hit earlier today, with Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen saying she'll have to take, quote, extraordinary measures to keep balancing the country's books. All eyes are on Congress and the White House. Fox 40's political analyst, Republican Tim Rosales and Democrat Ed Emerson are monitoring the moves that may keep us from a financial meltdown, and they are now with me live. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being here. The debt limit sits at $31.4 trillion. That's the most the nation is able to accrue in debt, and it's set by Congress, so Congress has to agree to do something different. Tim, as part of his wrangling to become Speaker through 15 ballots, Californian Kevin McCarthy promised his detractors and his own party that the House wouldn't move to lift the debt ceiling unless Congress slashes $130 billion in federal spending next fiscal year. Was that the right kind of promise to make, and is it one that he can keep now?
Well, it's a smart promise, because think of it this way. We all have credit cards. If we have a credit card and we hit the credit limit of our credit card and we just keep going back to the credit card company to keep raising our limit so we can keep spending without making any changes to our spending, right? That's probably not a good financial situation for our home finances. The country works in a similar way. And the debt ceiling has been raised, certainly 70 some odd times in the 20th century. So that is something that has happened, and we've had this kind of issue with debt going historically back to the times of the founding fathers and Alexander Hamilton, and countries being financed on debt have gone back to even further to England and even medieval Italy. And it's one of the resources that we use in order to maintain a very healthy and large nation that we do. Mm-hmm. But the issue, it really is are we able to increase that debt ceiling? Is it wise to increase that debt ceiling? And without making some spending modifications. And I think that's the questions that between the White House and Speaker McCarthy right now, and some of the negotiations that will take place.
Okay, Ed, is this the right kind of promise that should have been made, that nothing gets raised unless we slash $130 billion?
Well, I think Tim's right, is that this is a negotiation. This is a process that starts today. Let's say, for instance, that here's spending cuts that the Republicans feel like we need to make, and Democrats feel like these programs are sacrosanct. Medicare, Social Security. I mean, the types of things that seniors and disabled folks survive on, the Republicans want to get rid of that. So I think the opening salvo is always, let's cut everything, and then the Democrats come in and say, well, could you not cut this? I think it's a good process. I think it's part of the government that people don't like to look at, but it's a hard job. You got to remember, 25% of the national debt is Donald Trump. Is this guy just ran up debts and deficits and extended the debt ceiling every time. So we're paying for that today. I mean, the Democratic Party and the leadership under Hakeem Jeffries has got a tough road to hoe, because the Reaps have a majority in the House. But I think there's progress that can be made, and I think that we can get this done.
Ed, President Biden, through his press secretary, has said the debt ceiling shouldn't be a political football, and that basically there weren't going to be these kind of jump through hoops kind of negotiations to get it raised. Can you really do that, given all the investigation that the Republicans have promised into him and his family now that they're in control of the House? Is that even the right thing to be saying? And isn't everything in Washington a political football?
Yes. 100% sincere. That's a great, absolutely. That's the way to capture it. If there's a way to negotiate about something, we'll hold a hearing for 6 months and find out absolutely nothing about it. No, this is a serious business. There are very few solid economists, financial folks in the House. They fortunately for us end up on these committees. And I think there's room and progress that can be made. What we have to do is not be dogmatic. And that's always easy for me to say, because you can't put your foot down and say, I'm not going anywhere past this line. You have to be willing to compromise. And compromise is what we're missing so much of in this current environment.
And Tim, do you agree with Ed there that this has to be a compromise situation? Is the president really in a position to be like, no, not jumping through hoops, not negotiating on this?
Well, I don't think neither the president nor Speaker McCarthy are in a position to be so hard line on this. And I think that's kind of where their starting points are. And so this really is the first kind of spotlighted event where the White House and new Speaker McCarthy are going to have to come together and negotiate. So looking at, okay, what is this relationship going to look like? Not just on, the debt ceiling, which despite all the rhetoric, it will get solved. The country will not default. But what is the relationship between Speaker McCarthy and President Biden's White House moving forward for the next year and a half? And this, I think, negotiation here in this event will really put a spotlight on that and set the tone for what that is. So I think that's really what we ought to be looking at is really how that relationship develops and what happens with these negotiations.
Gentlemen, we're almost out of time, but I have to ask, there's never a great time for it, but some believe this debt crisis just couldn't come at a worse time for President Biden with his political capital being depleted by this classified document scandal. He's promised transparency in his administration, but the public wasn't told about the first discovery of this paperwork until recently, and those pages were found the week before the midterms, and that has to be why it all kind of stayed hush-hush. Tim, is Biden compromised as the country tries to work out this debt situation?
Compromised is a big word. And I think that he is not in the strongest position, right? Compromise, I wouldn't go that far. But in a strongest political position, no, he's not in a strong political position. But I don't think there is anyone right now who, in a position of leadership in the country who is in a particularly strong political position.
Okay, Ed?
The Democratic Party, we're not a cult of the personality. Investigate. Go in there and see why these dumb documents, classified documents, were in his possession. And, I got to say it, I'm a big Joe Biden fan, but if there's wrongdoing, prosecute. You've got to come in and find out exactly what he was doing with these documents and why he had them and how they got there in the first place, just like Mar-a-Lago. We have to go in and figure out why these guys think, maybe it's a presidential thing, why they think they're entitled to hold these documents. But I think compromise is way too strong a word. I think every once in a while you get on your back foot in DC and you get hammered a little bit. But I think this is going to be a great negotiation. And again, I'll say Tim's right. McCarthy has to establish leadership, and leadership doesn't just involve taking care of the Matt Gaetz and Lorena Boeberts of the world. It means getting things done. And I think McCarthy has an opportunity to show some leadership, especially in regard to the debt and the debt ceiling going forward.
All righty. We will have to watch and see what happens there. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.